for my editing. Okay.
Sure.
So several weeks ago at this business club I belong to, the Tower Club, I was introduced to this wonderful young lady, Frances Reimers, and I was told that she was amazing and wonderful and you really need to know her. So as I got to know her, I realized that she is tops in her field and really creative and brilliant in the area of personal brand consultation. She has a company called Firestarter, which is based in Alexandria. She works with executives and elite athletes. She's just been all over the world with brand awareness and helping people figure out how to present themselves to the world. She's been featured in O Magazine and Forbes and Huffington Post. She's been all over the place. She's also on the advisory board of the Columbia Lighthouse for the Blind, which is a very cool organization, and the National Foundation to End Senior Hunger. So she's in the community doing good. But so in every fashion, it's really fun to talk to her. Frances, thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
So the original reason you and I were talking to be on the show was to talk about like the executives that I coach and how I'm telling them they really have to be the face of their company now, and we were going to talk about how it's not just them; it's people in their organizations all need to figure out their personal brand and how they present themselves to the world. And then now we're in the middle of the coronavirus, and we're all sequestered in our house. You're home, you're in your house, I'm in my basement, and we said, how is the conversation going to change now with what we're facing to make this relevant? And my question to you is, how are your conversations with your clients, the executives and the athletes, changing during this time?
Well, the conversation really isn't changing because this will eventually come to an end. That may be 2 months from now, that may be 6 months from now. But the reality is we as the human race will overcome this and life will slowly but surely make its way back to normal. But what we can't do in a 24-hour constant news cycle and social media feeds constantly needing to be fed, we can't disappear. And so the conversation I've been having with my executives, with my coaches, with my athletes, is that whatever plan that we were on, we need to stay the course. So if we were in the process of developing a nonprofit or a company, we need to continue. That needs to finish. It needs to launch at some point in life. If we were working on content, if we were updating their LinkedIn or their bio or their resume, all of these things still need to transpire. So my conversation with a lot of my clients is, one, calming fear.
That's what I was going to ask you is, first of all, how do you get them to actually listen to you? Because they're dealing with their own terrors and made up real fears.
Right. Well, a lot of them are mostly concerned of, is working on their brand right now a good use of their time? And people would think that I would say yes because it's my business. I'm saying yes because you should be working on your brand all the time. Brand building never stops. And if you're home and you have time on your hands, now I understand some people who are stuck at home with maybe parents that they're caring for or children that they're caring for are like, I absolutely don't have time on my hands, but some people do. And a lot of my clients actually are in a position in life where they have a spouse or they have a babysitter or a live-in nanny or someone else in their universe who is keeping the kids entertained or helping with mom and dad so that they can continue to do business. Or they're single and by themselves and they have the flexibility to keep working on their brand. But if they have the ability, they should, because the world is not ending. The sidewalk is not ending here in 2 months. Our lives are going to go on, and you don't want to start from zero when we all get back to normal life. You want to be already back in the game, doing stuff, being present. And so a lot of my conversations with clients are, okay, here's the new normal for me. What kind of content should I be creating? What's important? What's not? I'm having a lot of conversations with people about what is appropriate content to be
right,
putting
because you don't want to appear, you don't want to stay the course and appear tone deaf.
Yeah, exactly. So for executives, maybe their company or nonprofit has events or services that might appear tone deaf right now if they're promoting them. A lot of the conversations I'm having is retooling what they have so that they stay out there, they stay visible, but they're being respectful of what is going on in the community and what's going on in everybody's lives. For CEOs who are wanting to be the face of their organization, who are not just wanting to be a CEO behind a desk, but a CEO with a personality, with a brand who is out there. Their biggest questions are, what should I be posting to social media? What should I be saying on Twitter?
So what should they be? So what are you telling them to post? What are you telling people to do?
A lot of it is showing humanity. If you're like, for myself, for example, my content plan during this is business as usual, because my target clients are still business as usual. So I'm showing, what my clients are doing in the community as far as donations and community outreach, preparing for the season to start. Me personally, I'm showing, interviews that I'm having. I'm showing behind the scenes footage of me appearing on talk shows and podcasts, preparing content for clients. So I'm showing how I'm doing my job while the world still.
So I think what I hear there is the first thing is make a choice of who you are during this.
Yeah.
Like for me, since I'm an executive coach, since I'm known as kind of the love guy,
Right.
I'm not actually going on LinkedIn and putting up videos about leadership skills. There's plenty of people doing that.
Right.
Mine is how are people dealing with their humanity? So I'm going on LinkedIn and Facebook and social media every day. How are you dealing with your humanity? How are you dealing with who you are? So that's so I'm forwarding my personal brand while being very clear of what is happening in people's lives and how I can be of service. So you're kind of pivoting people in that direction. And I love the fact that you say business as usual.
Right. And this is a great time. A lot of CEOs have been really afraid of developing content that would be considered entertaining, because in normal business times, a CEO trying to create something that's entertaining wouldn't always land correctly, depending on the type of industry that they're in. But right now, people are really seeking entertainment. People are really seeking a diversion from what is going on. And so if you have that kind of personality, if you have that openness, and that your brand has been somewhat entertaining in the past, I'm not saying go from being a staunch heavy duty financial services person who only provides very slick graphic designed pieces. Don't go from there to suddenly posting you and your teenage daughter in TikTok videos. That's a little bit too much of a bridge to gap. But if you in the past have been jovial, have been, a little tongue in cheek, now is the time that people are wanting a little more humanity, a little more levity, a little more personality. So if you've been hesitant in the past, but if you want to go for it, try. Right now, everybody is taking pictures in their living rooms. We all now know what everybody's houses look like.
Right.
We all know what you look like when you're not in the public eye, because that's getting put out there. So, I think it's an interesting time in content creation, because most people don't have the heavy duty makeup artists and editing equipment and everything else that people have used to create really slick content. We are now most people being reduced down to our iPhones and
just being real.
And so a lot of the conversations I'm having with my clients is, what really do you have going on? Really, do you really have something about the leadership of your industry that you'd like to say, that you'd like to share? Is there something that your industry is doing right now in the midst of this crisis that other industries could use and learn from? I had a great conversation with one of my clients who's a healthcare executive up in Rhode Island. Obviously, her practice is inundated with what is going on right now. But in our conversation, she kind of had an aha moment to herself that what they're doing around digital marketing to reach clients, educate clients, could be useful to a lot of other industries right now. And so she and I are working on a piece together that she will eventually put out, talking about how they've changed and pivoted their marketing plan in the midst of a crisis and how it is helping them stay in touch and engaged with their client base. Something that a lot of industries could use and learn from. And so we're working through that piece. Obviously, it's a very slow moving piece because she's extremely busy right now. But these are the conversations that we're having. She realizes that she doesn't want to fade to black because her industry is in complete turmoil. But we also have to be very sensitive about what we say about her, how we position her, because of the industry that she works in. So it's a very delicate dance. But on the other hand, I have other CEOs that are doing great things in their communities. They're doing great things within their own households to help ease the burden for others.
So that sounds like a shift that you have embraced is bringing people into their lives. This is a good time to bring people into your life. I'm bringing, like if you're watching the video, we get to see your apartment and we get to see my basement because of the renovations that are going on upstairs. Right. So now it's a little more gritty and more relatable.
Yeah, absolutely. And the news cycle is going to be even faster than it ever was before, because people are spending, if you've been on Twitter or Instagram over the past couple of days, it's people are on there all day long because they're tired of watching TV. And so they're moving over to these social platforms. And so how do you stay at the top of the feed, but also stay relevant, interesting, pertinent to what you're trying to do? So I'm helping clients come up with things to say, things to talk about, third-party content to weave into what they're doing to stay interesting. How do I make my NBA clients interesting when their season has gone black, but my NFL clients, who their season normally ramps up around this time anyway, they're kind of hogging the spotlight because it's the only sport in motion. Right. Where everyone else is silent. So even amongst my professional sports athletes and coaches, there's a power struggle for space out there right now. And so how do you get somebody out there being interesting, being relevant, but staying appropriate to what's going on? What a balance.
So speaking about being appropriate, I see some people going full bore with politics and certain people just staying completely away from it.
Yeah.
How do you advise your people with politics?
Yeah. So my feeling of politics has been the same and will always remain the same. If you want to go there, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, liberal, conservative, Republican, Democrat, independent, whatever you are, if you want to go there, my advice is be prepared that 50% of your audience will now disappear. If you are okay with 50% of your audience disappearing because they don't agree with you, then proceed. If you're like, I don't care, I'm cool with those 50% going away, by all means, continue. And then number 2, okay, you have to be prepared for whatever you put out there. There is going to be blowback. There is going to be blowback even from people who are on your side. There will be blowback. So you have to be prepared to take that heat. Are you prepared to take that heat? And if you even remotely hesitate for a second, then you shouldn't go there. Because especially Twitter, any people who are regulars on Twitter understand people will pick a fight over is the sky blue, is water wet.
I put something on a political post and I said, it would be really great if we could come from love and we do something. And I got torched.
Yeah.
And I thought I was just kind of bringing calm to the whole situation, and I got torched.
Twitter is a battlefield, and it is a battle of words and of wit, and facts be damned most of the time. Twitter can be a deep dark hole on a.
So do you advise your people? So again, so people, since Twitter, people who win Twitter are the
Mhm.
ones who are witty and
Yep.
thin-skinned,
And,
thick skin. Right?
and here's the thing, like, even in sports Twitter, even there's infighting even amongst fans of the same
Oh,
team.
yeah, I see it.
It's amazing to me. And so I tell clients, if you're going to go there, you have to be prepared for people to walk away from you, and you have to be prepared for the people that stick around to go toe to toe with you on a pretty regular basis. And so if you are not prepared for that, or you don't want that heat, then I recommend sticking far, far away from religion, politics, and finance.
Smart.
They're true in first date conversations. They're true in online social media dialogue. If you don't want that heat, or you don't want to hear what the other person has to say, then you should avoid that
Right. And
topic.
so again, and do you want it to be part of your brand? Because once you identify with a certain side of the aisle, now
Yeah.
it's part of your brand, and now you've kind of come in. Did you see the Netflix special with Taylor Swift?
No.
So in the Netflix special, really, it's so good. It talks about when they show her when she decided to jump into politics
Right.
because of she wanted to support her gay fans,
Right.
and she was about to go out onto Twitter or Instagram or one of those things, and she has a billion
Millions.
people, right?
Yeah.
And so it shows her real time in the video with her
Right.
father going, "Are you ready to have half the people at your concerts? Are you ready to have half the record sales?" Everybody's just telling her,
Yeah.
and her publicist is just like biting her nails.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
she types out her Instagram or
Yeah.
Twitter thing, and they're sitting there, and she visibly shaking, and she pressed send, and she
Right.
buries her face in the couch, and then what you see is the whole news cycle is
Yeah.
to have that much power. But
Yeah.
she had to make that decision that she was going to be who she was going to be, and what
Yeah.
were the consequences there.
Yeah. And we live in, and what I try to drive home to a lot of professional services people, and especially if you are the CEO, the executive director, the board chair, if you are in those positions, you're kind of Taylor Swift too. We live in an online world where more and more of our lives are being played out for people that we have never met to see. And we have to be very careful of what we say. It wasn't too long ago that I gave a speech for about, I don't know, there's probably about 200 people in the commercial real estate industry in the room. And a woman at the end of my remarks came up, and she's like, "I really appreciated your remarks." She's like, "I wish I would have heard you speak about a year ago." She's like, "I posted something online," and she's like, "It pretty much brought my career to a screeching halt."
Mm.
And she's like, "I got fired. Clients started removing business, started unfriending me on Facebook, LinkedIn, other places." And so we think that this is just reserved for celebrities, high profile celebrities, but it doesn't matter if you're a high school football coach, an attorney, a dentist, a small business owner. You're out there, and
Mm.
people are Googling you before they even pick up the phone to call you. And so if they go to your Facebook or your LinkedIn and they see something that doesn't quite jive with their culture, their values, they're walking away. And so you have to be very careful about how you position that, and how you put your business and remain authentic. You have to be very careful about that. And when you put it out there, you have to be okay with the consequences. Not too long ago, I had a professional athlete who was being asked to partner with somebody. He asked me to look into this person and their business, and what I found about this person online, I knew did not jive with this athlete's morals and values and
Mm.
whatnot. I presented him with what I found, and which I expected, he was like, no, I don't want to work with that person. And so I had to go to that person and say, I'm sorry, but this is not going to happen. And the person was like, why on earth? And I was like, well, you kind of put your politics and your religion and your thoughts out there, and when you do that, that's the consequence when somebody doesn't agree with your stance on
Right.
things.
No, you're not wrong.
You're not wrong.
It just limits your opportunities.
Exactly. And but I, for example, I don't put my politics out there. I stay as non-political as I possibly can. Every once in a while, I might like something or share something that I think is rational and relevant to what is going on in the current scope, but I leave all party affiliation, all of that completely
Mm.
off the table, because I have clients who are major conservative Republicans, and I have clients who are so far to the left, they're off the page. So for me personally, it is advantageous for me to leave my politics and my faith completely buried. And a lot of people are like, well, then you're not being authentic. Yeah, I am being authentic. I'm supporting the things that I support, and talking about the things that I want to talk about. Just because you don't know my political affiliation or my faith doesn't mean that I'm not being an authentic person, and what you see is what you get. So people often think that those two, if you're not fully being transparent about
Sure.
who you are, you're not being authentic, and that's not quite how that works.
I'm in total agreement with that. There's certain things that can stay private because there's a professionalism,
Yeah,
right? Professionalism
absolutely.
does not mean inauthentic. Uh,
And I'm not a lobbyist. I'm a publicist. People don't, my political affiliation or my religion doesn't matter. No one cares
but
what I.
let's go. You're a CEO.
Right.
You're none of that is relevant.
No.
It's what does your company bring to the world? Who are you leading this company? That kind of thing. So absolutely.
Exactly. And so, yeah, if I was a lobbyist, that's a whole other conversation, but I'm not. So me leaving that stuff off the table is appropriate and relevant.
Okay, so you have 30 to 45 seconds to just leave someone who's listening with some really good advice when times are in upheaval and the news cycle is way louder than anything else. What would you like to leave people with for the next couple of months when things are crazy?
Well, with everything that's going on, the one thing that you can always control is yourself and how you react to what is going on around you. And I think in these times, it's really important for people to feel as much in control of themselves as possible. And what you put out to the world is completely under your control. So take a look at your LinkedIn. Is it up to date? Do you look your best? Do you sound your best? When you're on social media platforms, are you putting out positivity and light, or are you contributing to the doom and gloom? Because remember, when this is all over, that stuff will still remain if you keep
Right.
it there. So curate yourself wisely, curate yourself carefully, but curate yourself positively and with authenticity.
That was so wise, because when this does blow over, who you were, how you were during it is going to follow you to the next chapter.
Absolutely.
Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you spending the time with us and go in real time with this, with what's
Yes.
happening in the world.
Yes.
Because I'm going to put this out sooner rather than later so that people
Okay.
can get this wisdom.
Great.
So where can people find you?
So literally almost everywhere. You can go to my
Oh, you're a publicist, so it's easy to
I'm
find you.
everywhere. You can go to my website at www.yourfirestarter.com, Instagram at Firestarter CEO, Twitter at Your Firestarter, Facebook at /Firestarter brand, and LinkedIn at Firestarter Communications, or me personally at Frances Reimers.
All of that's going to be in the show notes. So you didn't have to write it down. You didn't have to
Okay.
remember while you were driving. So you can just go to your computer and click on it, and we will find Frances. It's so awesome. Frances, thank you again for your wisdom. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
To everybody else during this time, I just want you to know I love you. I'm here for you. I'm in the foxhole with you, and have a great rest of the day.